The primary function of a bass guitar is to be used as a kind of anti-theft prop to be displayed in a home, signaling would-be intruders that there's nothing else valuable inside of said home. But there's actually also a musical function of a bass guitar, and I wanted to go over some just basics of making absolute just kind of like minimal function sonic possibilities with the bass, and then also using it as kind of like the driving melodic force of the song. Because this is something that I had to learn as a bass player, thinking of a guitar, like, you know, coming from guitar and then going to bass, trying to play bass like a guitar, and then just kind of like not having it work out for a while. So I've got two Emeryld Ryder tracks that I'm working on, and they're two totally different ideas of using the bass. One of them is just super simplistic, and the other one is more melodic and intricate, and we can use both of them using the official bass of the Emeryld Ryders, this Journey Instruments carbon fiber collapsible bass guitar, right? So, first of all, let's do the easy one first. I'm just going to play a little bit of it, and then I'm going to talk about what it is.
It's late in the year and the drought has been carrying on.
Alright, so basically we just have a very simple chord progression. It is A minor to C major to F to E minor, F, G, right? So it's really important to know where the chords are. So just the acoustic guitar would sound like this. Now, if I wanted to add some kind of bass line to go along with it, the function of this is just to fill out the low end of the track. There's a lot of other stuff going on in this track, and I really just want the bass guitar to act as something that is driving along with the count and the chords, and then just adding that low end to kind of fill up the sonic spectrum, all right? So when I see that A minor, what I'm thinking of is the root note A, which again is just the A string, and then its fifth, right? So that's why it's really important to know where at least like the root, major, minor, third, and the fifth are of a chord if you're playing bass, because it makes a world of difference, right? So the fifth in A, B, C, D, E, is the E. So I'm just gonna go back and forth between the A string and the E string. Just like that, right? So A, 2, 3, E, 2, 3, A, 2, 3, E, A, E. All right, so that's gonna be the count because that's in a waltz, right? So that's just going over the A minor chord. Then when I get to the C chord, I'm gonna reverse the direction of the fifth to the root, but I'm still doing the same kind of idea, right? Because if you listen to the percussion of that track, there's a kick on the one, and it's like kick 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, kick 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, bum 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 bum. So real quick, that little kind of riff in between both of those is really just taking what the vocal melody is. So it's not totally just the root note and the fifth to make it completely boring, but there's another component of the song that I am trailing to kind of give extra low end emphasis to. That would be the vocal, all right? The notes that the vocal is singing is just a D to an E to a D. It's very helpful to understand the notes, but you can really just kind of like hunt and peck around and find something that sounds good to either harmonize or just double, and then we're back to the chords, which is an F. First fret on the low string is F. It's fifth. F, G, A, B, C, right? Is the third fret on the A string. We're already here in the C chord, but again, it's just a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, E minor. So all of this is just root and a fifth. The only thing fancy about it is just that brief second where it kind of takes another melody and jumps off of what the acoustic guitar is doing and goes on to what the vocal is doing, right? So all together it's A minor, C, starting with the G to then to C, F, E minor, F, G, right? So there's nothing crazy. That's not a driving force. In fact, a lot of times you won't even recognize the bass is being played. It's really just kind of there to subtly enhance what's going on. So again, if you listen to it again, I'm gonna put the bass up a little bit more in the mix than naturally would be so you can hear it, but basically it's gonna sound like this.
Late in the year and the drought has been carrying on, but not for too long. In a time of sickness and strife, it's late in the day and she walks in a trance to the well, then tripped and fell as her world spun on its heel. Red sash and golden hair, misty eyes everywhere.
All right, now a more melodic, kind of interesting bass part is going to be in another Emeryld Ryder track that's coming out. And it's really kind of interesting because we're just taking the key that it's in, the key of D minor, and just using all the notes in D minor to kind of create its own part that is almost operating independently of what's going on around it, other than that it's in the same key and it's matching the percussion of the song, okay? The really interesting thing, my take on bass is the non-negotiable part of it is it has to lock up with the percussion of whatever's happening in the track, right? So again, if you want to just listen to what it's going to sound like, it's going to sound like this. So we end up with three distinctive bass parts, okay? One of them is gonna sound just isolated, kind of like this. And I'll show you how that kind of comes about. Then the next part would be like a... So there's three different ideas going over the same chord progression. That's why I think this is a good example of just kind of like the different opportunities that you have to write a bass line and how it comes about. It's all grooving with the drums in the track, but we're coming from different places, all right? So the key of the song is in D minor. That's why we need to learn the D minor scale. It looks like this. All right, so the D is 5th fret on the A string, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7. All right. Now, to make more of a melodic bass sound, I think we can start kind of incorporating 2 notes at a time. So far, what we've done is just do single notes to kind of like match something, like a root and a 5th. But if you start combining notes on a bass, you end up with this cool kind of really melodic thing. One of my favorite bass players of all time, Justin Chancellor from Tool, does a great job of kind of adding cool melodic stuff that isn't just so overwhelming, but it really is just super tasteful. That's why I think on a bass guitar, it's best to do these kind of things a little higher up the neck. If you start combining chord notes lower, it's just going to be really muddy. So that's why I think D minor is a good spot to try stuff like this. And basically, I'm just making the root and the 5, like we talked about in the previous example, where here's 5A, and and 7D. And I'm gonna play both of these together, just like a power chord on a guitar, right? So it just adds a little bit of weight, but it's not super low down to make it really incredibly muddy. So we're gonna go from here to here, all right? Now I'm thinking of this as if we're just gonna number the notes of the minor scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right now I have a 1 and a 5. Now I have a 3 and a 5. Okay? Now you may see this as an F note, and it's major third A, right? The interesting thing about that, the acoustic guitar chord progression, where this is played, is actually going over a C major, okay? So there's a little bit of, F major over C major going on, creates kind of like an interesting sound. But because we're just using these notes through the minor scale, I'm not so concerned with the chords and following them. I'm just concerned with kind of like continuing this vibe of these 2-note dyad pieces of bass goodness that I'm coming up with here, right? So after that, you can really see how this is coming from the same shape. And then I'm just gonna grab these right here, the 5th fret on the D and the G string, and then on the 7th fret on the D and the G string. So we've got a power chord, see that, an F, and then just going backwards through the minor scale, 8, 7, 5, and again I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so all together it'd be like that. All right, so that's just one example of maybe a bass line that isn't so much following the chords, is just playing in the key and trying to come up with cool melodic stuff. And then we're gonna take this up here. All right, now I'm gonna go to a D minor, which I know that the 12th fret on the D string is a D. It's minor third. It's great to always think of minor and major thirds on a bass. If this is my root note, the minor third is gonna be down a string 2 frets back. So 12D to 10G. This is representative of a minor chord, right? Now, the chords in the song are D minor to C major to F major to B flat. So I'm actually gonna kind of run through the chords, but in a way that isn't vibing with where those chords happen on a guitar, right? Because this stays in key for the most part. I can play a D minor, C major, B flat, and then a F. And then even if it's not matching up with where those chords are, it's almost kind of like chasing and following the rest of the track, right? So again, here's the D minor. I'm gonna go down a step to a C, and it's major third. Remember, minor third is 2 frets back, major third is just 1 fret back. And then B flat, the other chord in that key, major chord is just 2 frets back from there. And then the home chord, F, is just a string up, lower, right? And then I'm kind of doing this little riff. Like that, so. Now you can combine them together, which I kind of try to do, and I'm trying to switch these back and forth in a non-symmetrical way to kind of have it be a little more interesting to listen to. So we've got the first riff. Then maybe the third time. Then go down. And then you can already tell that locks into the song way more than the other 2 examples, because this is more like the example 1 we did in the other song, where I'm just tracking the chords. I've got D minor to C, F, B flat, back to D. And the cool thing, what I think is cool about that, is going from a less functioning map of the chords to playing something more melodically within a key or a shape to kind of use the bass as more of a lead instrument. And then once you quick pivot from that into locking into just the root and the 5, I feel like it really kind of takes that song and glues the whole thing together and just kind of makes it sound interesting in a cool way. So try to listen to this with the track and try to listen for where it locks in to the chords and how it kind of brings the track together.
She's all over my very own side. Vapors and movement, it's gone around the light of the sky. Shaking my side, constantly still, has it on. Reason that always looking up.
So yeah, anyways, I just wanted to kind of pass along some of my thoughts and really just kind of showcase some of the new stuff that I've been working on. Thank you to Journey Instruments for sending this guitar. They've got some really great acoustic stuff too. I will link that in the description if you guys are interested. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.